All right. Hello, City Church. I am excited to invite a special guest on our Instagram Live today, Michael Lewis. I will add him in just a minute to talk about International Justice Mission, who City Church is partnered with. They're one of our mission partners. And IJM, if you're not familiar, they are an amazing organization that fights to defend the rights of the poor and vulnerable around the world. Let me add in Michael here. Let's see. Okay, as he's coming in. So they're all around the world. Oh, there you are.
Hey there.
Hello. On your wife's account, because you're not on social media, right?
That's right. This OG is not on IG, so.
That's awesome. Well, welcome to your debut.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to have a debut. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I was just kind of explaining a little bit about IJM, and of course that City Church is a partner with International Justice Mission, and that IJM is truly one of the most outstanding organizations that my husband and I are grateful to personally get to be partnered with as well. And so we're excited that you're with us, that we can pick your brain a little bit about more of the work of IJM, what it looks like now during these COVID times, and how then we can be praying for you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so Michael, you are the church mobilization coordinator for Houston region, or more than just Houston.
All of Texas, Oklahoma, and I just inherited Colorado. So so a number of different states where I work with congregations to introduce them to the work of IJM and create partnerships between churches and field offices that advance the work that we need to do.
Yeah, it's awesome. And again, if anyone is watching this that's unfamiliar, City Church actually partners specifically with the field office in Mumbai, India. And correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but there are 17 field offices around the world that IJM.
I think it's 19 now. We opened up in El Salvador a couple years ago, and now Romania. So we actually have an operation field office on the European continent, which I think might be the first time ever that we've ever had a field office in Europe. We've had support offices for quite some time, but 19. And in India alone, we have 5 offices, 2 that are focused on sex trafficking, Mumbai and Kolkata, and then 3 others that are focused on labor, slavery.
Yeah, and just a little more about that. IJM is focused on the 3 kind of main: labor, sex, and cyber sex trafficking. Is that right?
That's right. We also have some unique casework types in other countries focused on violence against women and children, police abuse of power in Kenya, property grabbing in Uganda.
Yeah, I actually, I was just reading, I get these quarterly newsletters in the mail, and I was telling you this the other day that I get these in the mail, and I know they're going to break my heart a little bit, so I can't quite get myself to open it that day, so I let it sit there for a little while. And then I read it. But this story was particularly amazing. A woman named Helen who, exactly that, property grabbing. The police didn't defend her when she called to ask them to help her. And IJM got word of the case and went to her aid. And now she is starting, I believe, her own business and has a large family. I think it was pray for her 126 nieces, nephews, grandchildren, all that.
Right.
But pretty just amazing. Just the more stories I hear of IJM's work around the world, the more I just want to just be a part in any way of what you guys are doing, because it's just so needed and incredible. So tell us a little bit about how COVID-19 has impacted IJM, specifically the Mumbai office.
Sure. Yeah, I'll kind of start broad and then bring it into Mumbai. If you were to go to our webpage at ijm.org, there's an orange banner at the top, and it says violence is increasing because of COVID-19, and read how IJM is responding. So that's something that anybody who's listening in can actually go do if they go to our website. But in general, whenever there's a pandemic, it creates a kind of a perfect storm, if you will, for human traffickers. Pandemic crises, natural disasters, they historically serve as what we call push factors, because you have people that are on the move, they're migrating, fleeing from a place of danger to a place of safety. And in those situations, children and women are the most vulnerable, as well as the elderly. So last week, Gary Haugen, our CEO, he was on CNBC to discuss the increases of violence across the globe as a result of the pandemic. And he's quoted as saying, you have, first of all, a surge of violence in the home. Millions of women and children are locked in places of violence in their own home or shelters or compounds. And in addition to the domestic violence and sexual violence against women and children, online sexual exploitation and vulnerability is on the rise as economic hardship takes its greatest toll on the impoverished. Gary's also quoted as saying, it's not commonly seen or understood so much, but this pandemic is producing a surge of vulnerability and violence. And governments and agencies that care about the poor, they really need to be able to respond. So, end quote. Now, as it pertains to Mumbai, like I said earlier, Mumbai and Kolkata are both focused on the issue of sex trafficking in India. And parts of India have been on lockdown since mid-March. And according to data as of last week, May 1st, the state of Maharashtra, where Mumbai is located, that state is responsible for 30% of the overall cases and 40% of all the deaths due to COVID-19 in the entire country of India. So those figures place that state and the metro area of Mumbai as a great area of concern for the nation. So the estimates are that about 18 plus million live in the metro area of Mumbai, and over 40% of that 18 plus million live in slums. So in those areas, access to clean water, hygiene products is extremely limited. And the concept of social distancing is challenging just because you have the innate density and overcrowding that comes from living in a slum area.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And have you ever been to any of the field offices?
I have. It's one of those things where travel happens in bunches. So in 2017, I went to Ghana and went to the Lake Volta region where we're working to reduce child slavery as far as the boys on the fishing boats. Mm-hmm. And then this year alone, before the travel ban, I was able to go to both El Salvador and Southeast Asia. I was in Cambodia and Thailand for about 8 days and got to see our work there. So, wow. Yeah.
Wow.
So three times now in my time at IJM.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we get what you send to me, the updates from the field office, I think once a quarter or something, and we've often shown those in our services. And I love that. Those are truly heroes that are working in those offices, and the things that they're doing on a daily basis is just incredible.
They are, they really are. I mean, every time I go, I kind of get moved to tears because we have a little time together to spend in devotion. And I just feel like everything that I'm doing is to support and equip them to do the work that they're doing. I mean, these are people of their own countries, Ghanaians, Salvadorians, Cambodians, Thai, and they're working to improve conditions for their own people. And so, I mean, how could you help? How could you not help, but want to support their efforts to do that? Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't think I've ever asked you, how did you get in this work? What inspired you to start with it?
Total God thing. Gosh, the first time I heard about IJM was probably 10 plus years ago. I was invited to a luncheon. You go and someone's speaking. This guy named Gary came, and so okay, great lunch, great organization, and you kind of just tuck that away and move on. And then in 2016, we were at a family camp and in Central Texas, and there was a worship artist named Sarah Groves who was leading worship that week, and her husband and her children were with her. And her husband, Troy Groves, works for IJM. Mm-hmm. And it was Thursday of that week, and we're getting ready to leave on Saturday. And Thursday of that week, he had an IJM t-shirt on. And somehow that event from 10 plus years ago came back to my mind. I said, I've heard of your organization. What are you guys doing nowadays? And there's no internet access out there. And so, we had dinner together, and God was stirring up something. And that was July of 2016. And I came back to Houston, got online, researched them, checked them all out. And something made a connection in my soul. And so I looked to see what they had going on in terms of our opportunities in Houston. I was in between opportunities at that time, and they had a posting in Houston. And so I said, all right, well, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. And I got the job in September. So from start to finish, 2 months. And so that was my beginning. And it was just, like I said, the stirring of my soul in terms of this concept of shalom. Mm-hmm. wanting to see the world reknit and refashioned to the way God the way God originally intended, as far as, man and God, man and one another, man and the earth. And so this concept of justice was something that just resonated in a very, very deep way.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, it's amazing how the stories are often from hearing Gary. He's so passionate, and if anyone doesn't know, he's the founder of the organization IJM. If you've ever had the chance to hear him speak, he's really something.
Yep.
And so most of the IJM staff is located in DC, headquartered there, and you're one of the staff that is spread out throughout different regions. Yeah.
DC is where we're headquartered. We have a couple hundred folks there, and then the vast majority of our folks are in their respective field offices around the world. So, headquarters has been on shelter in place since mid-March, and it's forecasted to continue to be shelter in place until early to mid-June. And then as far as our field offices are concerned, countries have been instituting shelter in place and lockdowns. They've been rolling that out as well. So at this point, everyone is in lockdown.
Yeah. And so normally I've been able to be a part of some of them in the past years. There's a national prayer gathering, which one of the many things I love about IJM is just the emphasis on prayer, like that none of this work can be done apart from God's power. And you all are truly dedicated to that with the weekly prayer times throughout the week that you've opened up to some volunteers to join in, which is super cool. But so will you tell us a little bit about on May 16th, the Unstoppable prayer time going Zoom, going to Zoom?
Yeah. So you talked about our daily prayer rhythms. 11 o'clock Eastern, we all dial in and set our work aside and have a moment to come together for about 30 minutes and pray. And during this season that we've been in, this pandemic season, we've added another 30 minutes for IJM North America. So everybody who's stateside is part of IJM North America. And so we have an additional 30-minute prayer time. And on Tuesdays of each week, we invite people to participate in that. So any church member, volunteer, donor, supporter, they can actually dial in and join us on Tuesdays. So up to an hour a day to actually pray together and hear about things that are happening out in the field. The event taking place on the 16th, next Saturday, is kind of a continuation of our annual rhythm, and where we kind of invite everybody within the IJM family to participate in that. The last global prayer gathering in DC was in 2017. In 2018, we had Liberate up in the Frisco, DFW area. Last year, we had these Liberate local events in 4 major metro areas. Houston was one of those. First Press hosted that one here in Houston last year. But next week, we're going virtual as a result of the season that we're in. And so it's called Unstoppable. And it's a part of our tagline for Vision 2030 is to prove that protection of the poor from violence is unstoppable, to prove that ending slavery is unstoppable. And so that's the theme next Saturday on May 16th. And I believe, I don't have the start time, but I can get that to you. But it is all going to be virtual. People can dial in. You do have to register. So if you go to IJM.org, IJM.org/unstoppable-prayer, you can actually go to registration page and make sure that you get the invitation to dial in for that. But it's going to be about 90 to 120 minutes of worship time, storytelling time, time to hear from a survivor and one of our leaders in the field, and just be inspired about the things that God is doing in this work, in this organization, and how people can become a part of that and make an impact.
Very cool. Yeah, I think so. I serve on, which this, I'll tell our congregation, but I serve on the IJM Houston volunteer team, and the ways that we talk about how others can engage in the work is through prayer, through advocacy, which a lot of times IJM is asking for others to help to lobby to Congress for certain bills to be passed to defend those who are being oppressed. So with that, I think this is a really cool event to just kind of know the specific ways that that we can be praying for IJM. Yeah. So what's something just for you personally or for IJM at large that that we could be praying for?
Yeah, thank you for that. I spoke earlier about the Tuesday prayer time. Each Tuesday in May, we have a different leader from the field speaking about their part of the world. So, 2 days ago, Krista Sharp, our regional president for Southeast Asia, came and talked about the things that are happening in Cambodia, Thailand, and Philippines. This upcoming Tuesday, on May 12th, would really be of interest to City Church Houston because of the partnership with India. Saju Matthew, who's the regional president for IJM India, will actually be on that prayer call. So if you guys want to dial in for prayer at 10:30 Central this coming Tuesday, you'll actually hear from Saju about the things that are taking place in India. As it pertains to praying for IJM as a whole, I'd say a couple of things. One would be just safety and security for our survivors who are now living independently. These are young women that were doing relatively well before the pandemic, but now a lot of them aren't able to work. And there's that risk of falling back into desperate situations. So pray for our survivors. Secondly, I'd say pray that our employees in the field can actually maintain contact with the survivors that are in our network. People that were recently rescued, people who may have been rescued years ago, and that we can actually get food and supplies and hygiene products to them so that they can stay safe. So pray for our staff and that God would expand their capacity to attend to these most vulnerable folks. And then lastly, pray specifically for a young lady named Laura. It's a pseudonym. We don't have a real name. Laura, she is a survivor leader who's been particularly hard hit. One of the things we're really excited about prior to COVID-19 is launching our survivor leadership network. And these are individuals all across the world, who have been through that aftercare process of healing and restoration, and we're just on a pathway to flourishing. And they had the confidence to be able to go out and tell their stories, and to be able to tell their stories in settings all around the world. And so we were really excited about the launch of that. And so Laura is one of the folks in that cohort, but she's been pretty hard hit due to the pandemic. Her mother has an ongoing medical condition. Neither she nor Laura have been able to go to work. And so our staff's been providing support for them, but just prayers for their stability.
Wow. Thank you. We will certainly pray for that. I thought if it's okay with you, I would just end with playing a song that I wrote for when I first learned about all of this after hearing Gary speak actually at a conference. The Lord was just kind of stirring in my heart of what can I do? Now that I know, what can I do? And so music is a huge part of my life, and writing songs and expressing things in that format. And so I ended up writing a couple songs that turned into an album to raise awareness about human trafficking, and all the proceeds go to IJM, who I love so much, and I'm grateful to get to do that. And so this is a song from that album called Set Free that I released in 2014. So love
Beautiful.
to play this. Hopefully you can hear this. Let's see if, all right. I don't know if you can see my piano, but I'll play it. Feel like a bird trapped in a cage, told what to do, told what to say, far from home, far away. I need a light. Feel so alone, feel so ashamed. Used to someone's pleasure and gain. Promised lies, given pain. I need a light. I dream that someone will come for me. in you, fighting to break down the walls of this hopeless room. I see love, I see truth, turning me into someone. I think I'm getting calls. Sorry, that's the
Oh, is that what it is?
downside. All right, here we go. What's that?
I didn't know if there was like a Wi-Fi interruption or what.
Yeah, just some calls coming through, you know.
Got it.
All right, I'll keep going. No way out, no escape. Tied at the hands, I am a slave. Have no voice, have no name. I need light. If you can hear me, someone please tell my story and set me free. I see the light breaking through. I see the flame I have in you, fighting to break down the walls of this hopeless room. I see love, I see truth, turning me into someone new, finally free to fly like I was meant to do. Will you be mine? Jesus, show me Jesus. The light of the world. Jesus, show me Jesus. In Him make whole. Oh, He is the light breaking through. He is the friend I have in you, fighting to break down the walls of this hopeless room. He is love, He is truth, turning me into someone new, finally free to fly like I was meant to do. Will you be the light? Oh,
I did not realize you had to play the piano as well.
not so well as maybe you could hear. If it wasn't so clear, it's better that way.
Beautiful to me. Thank you for blessing us so much with all your gifts and talents, your album, your thoughtfulness to do that. It's just incredible. So that was a beautiful song. You need to re-release your album, Set Free Unplugged.
Yes,
So,
there you go. COVID times.
there you go.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for all that you do. It is a privilege to get to partner with you guys. And thanks for just sharing a little bit more with us today. We'll be praying for sure. And we'll put some links and stuff of how people can tune into Unstoppable. And then the best way for Tuesday to join that call, what would that be? To email me, I can get in touch with you, or email you directly?
Right. I'll send you the information for how folks can join in on that. And
Okay.
yeah, just we had just a little security form to fill out just to make sure that people joining in, nobody's going to be Zoom hacking or anything like that.
Yeah.
And you'll get a link to where you can just dial in on Tuesday. So yeah, as many folks as are able, we'd love to have them be a part of that and hear about the work that's happening in India. So thank you and your church for your continued support. I'm hoping that once everything gets back in order again, you can actually get a chance to go over to Mumbai and see the work that's taking place there. So yeah, really do appreciate your support as a church and your friendship as well. So Tell Pastor Leo and Valerie and Link, tell them all I said hello.
Awesome. Will do. Thanks, Michael.
All right, you take care. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. Bye.